Hello and welcome to the Farmer Wants a Wife Afterparty. I'm your host, Stephanie Spiker, and my goodness, do I have a lot to say about episode 3 of Farmer Wants a Wife. Joining me as always are Candace Bierzbowski.
Hello.
And Lindsay Yoder.
Hello.
And after a few rave reviews from his performance last week, Travis Barrett is also back.
What am I doing here?
I don't know, but you're here. So this week on Farmer Wants a Wife, Colton said goodbye to Taylor, spoiler alert, hopefully you watched the show, and then a bit of drama ensued on his farm, and meanwhile on the other three, because the other guys didn't say goodbye to anyone and kept all 5 ladies, they were told to go out with their ladies and their friends to figure out who might not be the right fit. So a lot happened in episode 3, we have a lot to talk about, so let's just get straight into it.
This episode is brought to you by Horning's Hardwood Furniture, providing locally handcrafted, custom-made furniture made from oak, maple, and cherry. Desks, doors, and sewing cabinets for your bedroom, living room, and dining room. Hardwood to last for generations. Horning's Hardwood Furniture. Call 717-866-5782 or go to horningshardwoodfurniture.com.
I feel like meeting the friends is kind of an experience that's ripe for cringe. Like, you're throwing 5 women with this guy's like besties, and yeah, things will happen. And to me, this was such a small moment, but the phrase "one of the boys," which is how Matt's friends described Haley, that gives me the ick. I don't love that phrase.
Why does it give you the ick in this instance?
I just feel like you're kind of then downplaying any of Haley's like traits or qualities and just like, oh, she's one of the boys. Let's move on and talk to these other girls. Like, I say this as someone who does enjoy what I think people would consider more like male-centric hobbies. Like, I like fishing and, stuff that maybe is stuff that guys would do, sure. But that doesn't denounce the fact that I also have very kind of more stereotypical like female qualities and hobbies that I enjoy, like baking and crocheting and whatever. So I just feel like it's taking away from her as a complete person.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of come on out and meet the boys and impress the boys. Because, Samantha said it, she said it a little roughly, but why should she have to impress his friends? She's there because she's interested in him, not his friends. And sure, like ideally you want a partner that your friends will get along with because you'd like to all be able to spend time together. But at the same time, I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way a little that they bring in these guys to evaluate these women on behalf of their friends. Yeah. John, said he needed his friends to check out Chloe and Sam. He wanted them to ask Chloe and Sam, what are they there for? What do they want? And I just kept thinking, why don't you ask them yourself?
Yeah.
If you're interested in forming a connection with either of these 2 women, why aren't you asking these questions?
That is a good point. I also, at least for Chloe, I feel like John's friends gave him input about Chloe and John made up his mind. Because then they went and had their little one-on-one and she did try to like talk to him and share more about her life. And you look at his face, that man had already made his decision before they went on that date. So what was the point?
And I feel bad for her because she's interested in John. So of course she wants to open up to him a little more instead of the 2 strangers that she just met at the bar who are now, asking her questions. Maybe she's not as interested in opening up to them and, putting on the show for them.
Yeah.
I think Chloe may be a victim of this is a reality show and not natural dating syndrome, in that it seems to me that she, like she did in her one-on-one with him, started to open up more about her background and the fact that, she was like, yeah, my dad wasn't really around. I mean, that's very personal and that affects how you interact with men also. So, like forming relationships and things. So it seems like she's the kind of person that over time, once she feels a little more comfortable and a little safer, she would open up and he would get to know her better. But she couldn't do it in the short timeline of got to put your hook in and get him before he gets attached to someone else. So ultimately, maybe it was best for her to not continue on the show. But I do feel a little bit bad for her that that's the way it happened.
Yeah.
And I also think she may have been the victim of some mean editing, because the way that they edited her conversation with the friends, I don't know if she really was that wordless, the way they made it look like she was
It
just
did
like,
seem awkward.
I have a big heart. Like, is that really all she said? I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be, but...
Well, how about when he invited her on the date? And it was
she just like,
they cut
didn't
to her.
respond?
They just cut to her, and it was like she just had this blank 1,000-yard stare, and I was like, yeah, they didn't do her any favors.
I would
No, well, I just feel like I totally agree that I also wonder, is it the editing? Because, again, when his friend said, what are you looking for in a partner? And she just, like, paused and was like, I'm looking to find love. I'm like, okay, that's not an answer to that question. Yeah. So is that really what you said?
Yeah.
If some people get the villain edit, I feel like she got the dumb edit. Like,
Poor
poor girl.
She took it from Colton. Darn it.
Don't worry. We will be spending so much time talking about Colton a little bit later.
I would love to hear if we have any of the contestants listening or reading our coverage. I would be so curious to hear how different the edited takes are from what they actually said, if they're comfortable sharing, because I want you all to know that we understand that you are being edited and it's not in your control. So I don't know.
And probably performing on some level too. Like, do that again. Say it like this though. Wait, do this way.
I mean,
it's
speaking
rough.
of editing, there was some masterful editing on the date between Jay, Vivian Lee, and Julia.
Oh my word! Yeah.
At the beginning, like every sound, like every ambient sound was just like ramped up to 10. Like the coughing, the clinking of the lemonade. It was just like, oh, I'm sure it wasn't that awful in person.
The whole episode, I felt like I was watching a rough cut. like even the episode itself, I felt like it didn't have a starting and an end point. It was just. Again, they create all this drama with these letters. We don't even know what the outcome of Matt's farm was.
I think he kept
it's just
them,
gone.
Though. Well, the editing in general, I guess most of it surrounding Jay and his ladies was top notch this week, because when Julia said, when they were playing pool and she's in her little like producer interview and she's like, I want them to see that I'm not just Malibu Barbie, and then the immediate shot to her like diamond covered stilettos, like what?
That's the thing when she said, she's like, I want to be able to show different like facets of myself, not just the diva side. I'm like, but honey, like that's all you've been showing, or at least that's all the producers have been letting us see.
Also, I'm very curious, Julia, what
What do you like, Julia?
No, what did you think chicken was?
Okay, I have this in my notes. Why are so many people afraid of chickens?
It's
because we have a video on our site that someone submitted to us of a delivery driver making their delivery on the property, and a few of the chickens on the property approach the delivery driver, curious, but definitely not in a way that I would consider like charging or
I don't know.
attacking.
It looked really sketchy.
And the delivery driver just wigs out, like jumps back in the van. You can tell like he is very frightened. And the same thing with like Julia. The second that chicken started moving, it was like she thought that she was about to get sliced or something. Yeah. I don't get it. They're just chickens.
I wrote the same thing in my notes. I wrote delivery driver video.
Yeah. You think they're dealing with like, I don't know, ostriches or something.
Guys, honestly, listening, please, it's on our social media channels, the video of this poor delivery driver just being horrified of these chickens. So if you scroll back a little bit, you can find it and enjoy it for yourself. It's only like 7 seconds long, but it's great.
Oh, it is. That chicken scene, though, was great. Who was the person who was like, is this where the chicken we eat?
That's Julia.
That's
Julia. That was Julia. Like, of course it was.
What do you think you're eating?
I don't know. She's a real like Jessica Simpson moment.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but even if she was pretending to be dumb, like that's not cute. Being stupid isn't cute. Pretending to be ditzy isn't cute. I don't like it.
Well, while we're on the subject of Jay and Julia, are the rules on this show are pretty malleable, obviously. Like we just do whatever we want.
There are rules.
Like here's the letter that tells you what you're supposed to do. We don't get rid of anybody. Now we just like, I'm going to take both of you on a date. Like, that's what I'm like. Poor Jay. I like him, but you set yourself up for failure. How did you think that was going to go in your head, that we were all just going to get along as a happy, like, oh. And then Julia, my thoughts on Julia are, I wrote it down. She's complained about everything on the show. The heat when they got to the field, the hay, the chicken moving around too much. It's just even playing pool, she was like, nope, I'm no good at this, I'm not doing it. And I'm like, none of those are redeeming qualities if you just sit and complain all the time.
The thing about Julia to me is like, it's clear that Jay likes her because of what she looks like. And Farmer Wants a Wife, you spoiled your own cliffhanger, by the way, because literally in the previews for next week, she's there. So obviously he doesn't send her home. So, but I'm curious, does he send Vivian Lee home? Because while I do find it very questionable to go on a reality dating show when you've never been in like a serious relationship before, like especially one that's geared towards like partnership and commitment and marriage, that does seem a little sketchy. But at least she seems like she fits in on the farm. So if he sends her home and keeps Julia, he's gonna fall from my grace.
It worked out for Sydney, didn't it? She and Mitchell are still together despite her having no prior experience dating. But I'm with you. I don't think a reality show is where you cut your teeth in your dating life.
But she's fairly young, right? Isn't she's like
20,
excuse me, early 20s?
24.
Yeah. I think in today's world that doesn't shock me. What you would consider a serious relationship versus is she saying like I've never lived with anybody? Or is she saying I've never had a boyfriend? That's not very clear.
To me it doesn't, I don't care that she's 24 and has never had a boyfriend or a relationship. I just don't understand why then she's on this show. Like,
but why are any of them on this show, Steph?
It's a valid question.
I don't want to compete. I don't want to impress you. Or don't want anybody else. I don't want you to look at anybody else. I mean, I'm wondering why any of them are here.
Seeing as you just brought up Samantha, that actually is going to lead me into my hot take.
Oh.
I am on Team Samantha after this episode.
Oh. Welcome, Steph. It's great to have you here.
I was so genuinely angry listening to Richie talk to her about, like, John's at the wheel. And she's like, well, I like being at the wheel, too. And he's like, I don't know. Like, she's not willing to give that up. And I'm like, hold on. Because to me, personally, like, a relationship and a marriage is a partnership. So she is a fully formed human being with a job and a life and a family and friends. And she should be at the wheel of her own life. And even if and when she gets into a relationship, she should not just have to give up every aspect of her own control over her life and let him take the whole, like, there's only one wheel. Well, it's not one person has to be driving the whole time. Right. Have you ever gone on a road trip? You switch drivers. I was gonna say, like, to mix metaphors, this is where the truck or the wheel metaphor, the wheels come off. Like, yes. Because, in a marriage, guess what? There are two people at the wheel because that's how it's supposed to work. And I get that if you are marrying a farmer, you probably will have to compromise and go live on the farm because you cannot move a farm. Like, right. You can, but it's very difficult to do. And it's most of the time the partner is the one whose, career can be more easily transplanted. But I get you. That also really rubbed me the wrong way that they're insinuating that, like, no, she needs to drop everything. Yeah, they didn't ask her specifically, would you be willing to move here? I mean, she did. She was open about, like, I do like, civilization. But I don't think she specifically outright said, like, no, I would never give up my life and come live here. Like,
I have a little bit of a counterpoint to that. And I think everything that you said is true about the fact that, of course, like, she has the right to be like, well, this is what's important to me. And, we're in a relationship. This is a compromise. But it seems like his friends seem to know that he's sort of on the course of where he wants to go, that he wants to be near the family farm. Like, that's where he wants to be centered. And since it kind of sounded like she was saying, she kind of said, I think, that she's having a hard time thinking about giving up a lot of the things that she does in her life now. And so I think they were more so recognizing that she might not be the right one for him because of the fact that they both have very kind of strong feelings about where they want to be and what they want in their lives. So not that she's wrong for feeling that way, but that maybe it's not the right fit with John, that she's kind of thinking already of, well, I don't know that I really want to be at the family farm long term, and maybe he already knows that he wants that. So.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I am curious, where does he live? Because everything says he's from St. Louis. He lives in St. Louis. They constantly are showing like the arch when they're doing B-roll, but then his friends were like, oh, we're 2 hours from civilization. I'm like, where are you then?
Yeah, they've been very unclear about that, actually.
Shocking. Yeah, I agree. I can't believe I agree with Lindsay, but I think that I think last week worked for me. Our little therapy session here helped me out. I think that, I mean, in any relationship, like I think there's difference between strong personalities who, you know, you advocate for yourself and you advocate for each other. But I think here what we're talking about are two real alphas. And I don't know if that, I mean, again, we don't really know how that conversation went. We just get these snippets where they throw out the worst, you know, cliches ever. But I do wonder if what the friends recognize is, yeah, you're not going to change his mind. So for good or for bad, you should be aware of that too.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, she tried to put him in a chokehold in episode 2. I don't see how this is going to work. I just don't see this one working.
All right.
But he seemed to have liked it.
It's so weird.
Right off the bat,
did.
he was like, I like that Samantha in this episode. Like,
He said she was perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think he likes a strong-willed woman. Like, I think he appreciates it.
He definitely likes the fact that she challenges him. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's no question
Yeah.
that as somebody who sees himself as a future lawyer and probably enjoys all that, the banter and the silly debating. Yeah, she's right in his wheelhouse.
Honestly, those two confuse me. I have no idea what's ever going to happen with them. But does anyone else have any hot takes this week?
I have one.
Okay.
And we're still on John because it's about
of
John.
course.
And now I know it's John because in my notes I write John mustache. So I know who it is. My hot take about John is that he's weirdly robotic to me. He is a very serious person, which I think is at odds with the fact that he has volunteered to go on a silly reality show. But when he was on his little one-on-one date with Chloe, she, you know, mentioned that this is hard. Being on this show is hard. This process is weird. And he said, it's a very unusual but very beneficial process in a very, like, unemotional voice. And it was almost like a cold thing to say. And, like, I half expected him to then be like, and it's very efficient. Like,
Right.
He's
Gotta
got
go.
a
Get
real
outta
kind
here.
of, like, and I don't mean this to insult any engineers out there, but it's almost an engineer's way of, like, looking at the world. Like, I haven't seen too much of a sense of humor come out of him. He doesn't seem to have... I mean, we talk about Matt being a little bland. Like, I think John's, like, the one who's
You know,
really... Like, there's nothing there. Like,
In Matt's
there's
defense,
no,
he
like...
made me laugh. this
Yes.
week.
Yes.
So,
John is the one who I think is just like, I don't think he's got any more warmth than like the tractor he's riding on. Like, I think he is not someone that I would want to be partnered with because, I mean...
did he grow a mustache to compensate for lack of personality?
Maybe. I don't know. But that's my hot take is that I think that John might be a robot.
I feel like he knows what to say and how it should sound.
Well, maybe
yeah,
that's
but
like-
it's not. There's no.
Is that the lawyer in him, right? Sometimes I feel like lawyers can be... He's aware. Right, obviously, I hope they're all aware, maybe not Colton and Travis's opinion, that they're on TV.
You all agreed with me last week, by the way.
Like, John, I think, is very astutely aware that he is on TV. Everything is being filmed. Everything is being edited. And I wonder... I get what you're saying, like, about an engineer's mindset, but I wonder if he's approaching it with a very lawyer mindset of, like, being very careful with what he says and how he says it.
I can't remember if I said it on the podcast last week or if I wrote it in our reactions, but at some point, the thing about John that bugs me is he's too smooth.
Yeah.
Like, it's too easy for him. It's weird. It comes off as inauthentic.
Because he's a robot.
Yeah. No, I think we're all... Yeah. But he's like an advanced level of AI, right? Like they've even got some inflection.
He's like the droid from Alien.
Yeah.
You look beautiful. Click.
Was it Bishop?
Yeah. AKA Bilbo Baggins.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, to be honest, this is not the first farmer I've accused of being robotic and maybe not fully human, because I also accused Ryan of being a robot, totally devoid of emotion in season one.
He did lack emotion, that's for sure.
So, not just lack emotion, he was repelled by
that's
emotion.
True. She has too much emotion for me.
Anyway, that's my hot take.
All right, fair. Anyone else have a hot take they want to share with the class?
Travis?
I don't know how hot a take it is, but
a lukewarm take.
I mean, I got to build up. I thought when the girls asked Matt if he'd ever taken any other girls to this spot on the farm, and he was like,
I've never met a girl.
I've never even talked to another girl. And they're all like, ha, that's the right answer. And I'm thinking it might be true in his case, actually. I'm not.
Oh my God. See, I thought that was funny.
That was a joke.
I know it's a joke, but every date, like even the last one, he's just like staring with that awkward smile. He was chatting with his, quote, best friends. And it's like, yeah, this is hard. Yeah, this is hard.
I mean, I will say...
Are you having fun? I'm like, oh, dear God.
I didn't love how when him and Halle had their... I hate even calling these dates. I feel like these were just like one-on-one chats. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like that they phrased them as dates. But when he was talking with Halle and he asked her about like, oh, what are you looking for? And she kind of... Or she was saying that she thinks he's very attractive, and he said something about on a deeper level. And she went and she was honest, and she's like, respect and loyalty and whatever. And then she asked him, what are you looking for in a partner?
Yep.
And he's like, oh, someone smoking hot.
Yep.
And then they kind of laughed about it, and then he changed the subject.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Thank
like,
you.
Sir, is there more?
No, there's not.
He missed like what was clearly like an opening for him to compliment her, because when he said that, she said like,
Yes.
oh, I guess I'm out of here then, like making her own joke, and he's like, nah, you can stay.
Yeah,
Like,
that was-
sir, that is when you tell the woman she's beautiful,
Yeah.
or like you compliment her in some way because she's clearly fishing for something.
Yeah.
That's where I've gone wrong my entire life. Yeah. Yeah, poor Matt. He's just got a couple of avocados up there in his head.
And
about
apparently some passion fruit.
Is that
Yeah.
what the
That's
deal
what they
is?
were planting today.
Oh, I must have spaced out during
Yeah.
that.
It was
Yeah, they're
very
not fully.
exciting.
Yeah, well, I think in his case, the
All right.
passion fruit isn't fully
Developed.
planted yet. Yeah.
I have something to say about Halle, which is I appreciated her denim coverall outfit when they were planting.
Yes.
It was very practical. And I'm not a huge Halle fan, but I respected that she wore that. And actually, after their one-on-one, I felt more warm toward her. And all I could think was, I wish that you were more like this instead of putting on this bravado of like, I'm the loud party girl. I'm so much fun. Because when she let down her defenses and was a little bit more just like her real self, she was way less off-putting to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like the thing about his friends, who I honestly found very unhelpful, like, what was he supposed to say after that? Like, they didn't do anything to help him make his decision. They were just like, yeah, they're all great. But part of, I think, when they said, you know, she's just like one of the guys, I think she tends to try to create that vibe around herself as a defense mechanism. So it's sad to see, because we got a little peek at like kind of who she is underneath that. And I don't know, I hope, well, granted, who knows what's going to happen next week from the whole preview they put out, but I hope we continue to see the softer Halle.
Oh.
Yeah, I agree with that. Speaking of her outfit, I agree. Her outfit was great for planting. And in general, I feel like at Matt's farm when they were planting passion fruit, I think it seemed like all the women were kind of just going for it, especially Halle, which I appreciated. Speaking of denim, though, why is Lily wearing a dress? Like, I feel like in her
Lily.
head, she's like, oh, it's denim. It's perfect for working. You would never, ever catch me loading hay bales in a dress. Do you know, hay gets everywhere. Hay is itchy. What are you Put pants on.
I love the insinuations there. I actually have this in my notes. Sorry. And I was wondering, can we start doing a recurring segment called Worst Working Outfit? Because
Yes.
she takes the cake.
It's
this
gonna,
week.
I
And her
feel like
belt broke.
every single week I'm going to be annoyed at something somebody wore. So just get used to it, everyone. We're just going to talk about this.
I've had some thoughts about Lily's outfits in general. I've not been a huge fan. I wasn't really a fan of the tasseled like biker skirt that she wore when they went to play pool, but that's just a personal choice, I guess. Yeah.
I mean,
But-
we can do that segment every week, but I don't think I even pay attention.
That's all right.
I don't think I know. The only thing I noticed was, and I don't know who was wearing it. They were lining up to go meet the friends, and it was like a denim bag thrown over her shoulder.
that was
Yeah,
Grace.
Grace. I kind of thought something too.
That did
but-
not do her any favors. Like,
Yeah.
I think Grace is so pretty, and I feel like not
She's
my
so
favorite
tiny
outfit choice.
too. Like, and I feel like that just kind of swallowed her up. And I get it. If you don't feel comfortable wearing like a bodycon style dress or something revealing,
Yeah.
that's fine. But
Yeah.
there's so many ways. If she wants to dress modestly, there's so many cuter ways to do it than just wearing what kind of looked like a potato sack.
Yeah. But I will say, at least she was wearing a dress to go out and not to stack hay
There you
bales.
go.
True.
It could be worse. Do we want to get into Colton's stuff?
I think we have to, because we spent how much time did we spend arguing about it after we watched it?
So, okay. I feel like, in general, the way Colton worded his breakup with Taylor was terrible. I was not even 100% sure what he was saying to her. He never really said the word, which maybe he did and it just didn't make the final cut, but like, he never really said, like, I think it's time for us to part with. Like, it was the worst Farmer Wants a Wife breakup speech I think I've ever heard. It was so bad. And while he did say something about one or two women, he then went on to be talking as if like having a connection with her
Yeah.
over and over again. Do we need to watch it again, Travis?
I don't need to watch it again. I thought it was really funny because the entire episode, I think I revealed this to all of you, like I had written in my notes, he was talking about, oh, if I have a spark with one or two women, and then they just ran with Taylor's. Is Taylor? Yeah, her whole thing about he's already picked one, and they spent 15 minutes playing that out, and that's not what he said. And even at the end of the horrible breakup, which I agree it was not super clear, he said to her, I don't want it to be you and one other person at the end, and you're thinking, I already have a connection with that person, why am I here? I thought, like, look, Colton's not firing on all cylinders up there, but I understood what he was saying, and I thought it was a production thing where they made it sound like it created all of this drama with these women that wasn't. He didn't say he'd already picked somebody.
Oh, I disagree. I think if I were in Taylor's position and I'd seen how he acts around Bailey, and I know that he's already kissed Bailey, I would have heard that and thought, oh, he's talking about Bailey. Like, I completely understand how she would have made that connection in her mind.
That's fair.
And yeah, I think if you want to look at this like perhaps lawyer John would, there's some wiggle room
There's a
in
lot
what
of
he
wiggle room
actually
in there.
said. However,
Don't take
I
it to court.
don't think Taylor is like out of pocket for assuming he is talking about his connection with Bailey, and the fact that like he already knows that he's taking Bailey to the end, just because I think already there's a lot of feelings on that farm about the fact that Bailey is already like the favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, to me, I think it was made pretty clear that maybe that is actually what he is feeling and thinking. The way when Taylor brought it up, then when the women were just talking about it in the kitchen, and every time it cut to Bailey's reaction and her being like, oh, they're talking about me. Like,
Mean editing, you mean?
she knows that they have this really strong connection.
Mm-hmm.
And she also, though, I will say, I don't love how she said, I don't really care, like, I'm here for me, which I do get that. But I also think at the end of the day, if you're considering marrying this person, I feel like you should care how he's treating the other women there. And if he is actively leading them on, maybe you should care.
Okay, so, but I keep going back. Like, I keep going back to, this is a competition, and they over and over and over in these one-on-one interviews, it's about, I want it to be fair, and this is about winning. You all know that at the end, there's only going to be one of you on each farm.
Or zero.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But
get them all out.
In theory, right? Like, we're trying to whittle this down. So this notion that how dare he make up his mind who he likes better is insane to me to start with. But to your point about Bailey, like, we don't know how much he's really leading these other women on. I mean, one of the questions I have over and over in my notes is, how long has it really been? Like, they come, I know that they announce it like for the last week they've been getting, so have there been all of these conversations? Or has it really just been 2 days, and in TV time we say that's a week? And that's where I'm confused. Like, and we talked about it earlier with John, like, if you want to know, go talk to him. And I don't feel like we get any sense of that. And that's probably on purpose, right? I know I'm the reality show newcomer here.
Well, no, I mean, this is something we've talked about in the past where it's like, how much time when the cameras are not rolling, do the men actually actively, like, sit and talk to these women?
Right.
Because I do think some of it, I would think the producers kind of intentionally keep them apart when it's not being filmed, because you need to save that for the cameras.
Right.
So I do always wonder, how much are they actually able to get to know each other? Because I'm pretty sure the entire season is filmed within like a 6 to 8 week span. Like, that is such a small amount of time.
Especially, like you said, this is a show where people are like dating to marry.
Yeah.
So it is a very condensed amount of time to try and evaluate a potential partner. Although it does sometimes come with some really funny edits, because, like, after Matt invited Halle to the date, he's like, different. All right, and now I'm bouncing. I was like, okay, like, I came in, I asked you out, and now goodbye.
In fact, I wrote it, what he said was, well, I'll let you get back to it. And I wrote back to what? Sitting around stewing?
Sitting there.
Giving each other glances, stare downs. Like,
I have some thoughts about Colton, Bailey.
Please.
Okay. First thing is, I feel for Bailey because I really understand why she might be very attracted to Colton, because he just has glommed onto her. Mm-hmm. And it's
glommed
so literal too.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. And it's, it's appealing to have somebody pursuing you, and if you know that they like you, like, it feels nice, and that makes you more likely, I think, to be thinking nicely about them. And since she was already coming on the show with the purpose of wanting to be with him, of course she's going to, I haven't seen her feeling like pulling back from anything, so it makes sense that she's feeling that way. But at the same time, Steph, I do understand what you're talking about too with, if I were her, I wouldn't really want him to be continuing to give other girls any kind of hope if he's definitely feeling like, I'm really not into you. Like, I'm not attracted to you. And they can all tell that. And you can tell when you're with people and somebody has feelings or is attracted to someone, you just get the vibe, when they're looking at them, you can see the way they act differently. And if they're all getting that vibe, Bailey probably knows it too. Like you said, like, she knows they're all talking about her. So she's kind of in a bubble, though. Like, she probably can't see it the way that we can about, like, maybe you should be thinking about the way he's treating these other women, because she's in this situation of like, man, I'm falling in love with him and he's really in love with me and I'm here for this show. So I don't really have a cogent point to make.
I think you did.
Just sort of making observations. And also that I agree with you that I think Taylor was definitely in the right to, if she's like, yeah, he's basically saying, he's got one girl and he's comparing all of us to her. I understand why she kind of wanted to warn them And I would have appreciated that, I think, if I was one of the other girls. So.
I would have too. I mean, going back to Bailey, I do have to wonder if she thinks that she's got this in the bag.
Yeah.
Which I would believe, like, I understand why she'd think that, but it kind of makes me excited for when she finds out that Colton has now been kissing Keely too.
Yes.
So, yeah. And especially his line, I've been wanting to do this ever since I first saw you.
Yes.
Like,
Okay.
This is
has
the
he been thinking
question
about
I've already
kissing
been
like
asking.
every woman on his farm this whole time?
Yes, he has. We covered this. I just want to push back a little bit on this notion that I can't believe I'm defending Colton. I kind of like him because I think he is who he is. But this notion that he's leading them on we again are aware that we are on a reality television show where there are things that have to happen, including stage dates and eliminations, and the producer, we want you to go out with this person that we think you don't like. So it's, and I think Steph, you said something like his future wife, would you want to see, him treating other women like that? But he has to. In the confines of this bubble, these are the exercises you have to participate in.
But you see, Travis, if you apply that logic to like everything on this show, the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah, no, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
No, but is anyone shocked that Colton and Keely kissed?
No.
No. Okay.
I'm shocked it took him this long.
I did think for a moment we were going to get through a whole episode where he didn't kiss somebody.
Do we need to get one of those like flippy signs where it's like days since like incident, where it's like episodes since Colton
Back to
has
zero.
not kissed a girl?
Back to zero.
What? So okay, we just finished episode 3. He kissed Bailey once in episode 1, twice in episode 2. And then he kissed Keely in episode 3. So he has kissed 4.
Who did he get on the forehead? He got somebody on the forehead in the
Keely.
That
bar.
was also
Keely.
Keely.
Okay.
Are we counting that? I feel
Yes, he put his lips on another human. Yes, you got to count it.
All right. Then.
Oh, but he kissed Keely's hand during their speed date. So are we counting that?
Yep.
See, okay. I feel
Matt's not pulling those stunts.
we're gonna keep a tracker. But the thing is, when he said to her, what did he say? Something like, have you been wanting to kiss me as much as I've been wanting to kiss you? What a line. I literally was like, did he say that to Bailey? Like, part of me feels like he's already said that. And maybe it's just because it's the most obvious line you could possibly use on, like, anything.
Yeah, I also agree with you, Candace. Gag.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on that. That was rough. Poor
I
Colton.
also found it just that he's got his hand way up her thigh while they're sitting there, him and Keely. And again, I'm just like, I don't like this. He's
He
just
also-
got a touch.
Like, she asked him, like, why did you pick me? And he's like, oh, it's like when you see a really pretty horse.
The worst.
Oh my
yes.
goodness.
The worst.
Just what I
metaphor.
want to be compared to.
A horse.
What? I would have gotten up and left. Are you kidding me? And he said something like, your red hair
red
is just
hair.
so gorgeous. I'm like,
He should have started with that.
yeah. At the end of the day, has he said any kind of compliment to any of these women that is not about their looks? I mean, maybe he has, but not to the point that I've noticed it. Like, even last week when they left us on the cliffhanger with Taylor, he sat her down and he's like, oh, like, I think you're great. Like, you're gorgeous. You're a smoke show. And, he has said so many things to Bailey about how hot she is or whatever, and how tall she is and all that stuff. And then now with Keely, why'd you pick me? Oh, you're like the prettiest horse because you have red hair. There has to be more to this man, I
But
hope.
does he know any more about them to be able to deliver compliments? Like, can he say, like, you're just a really, like, compassionate or empathetic person, and I admire that in you? But he doesn't know them, so how can he make those kind of compliments?
The only person he knew anything about was Taylor, and he got rid of her because he talked to her about her past on a horse farm. He's like, I know too much. You have to go.
He's a real person now. Gross.
You gotta go.
I've been surprised that he hasn't, or at least they haven't shown more of him talking to them about their thoughts about children. Well, yeah, anything. Like talking about their families, their background. I mean, Bailey opened up about her background a little bit, but yeah, I'm surprised that there hasn't really been any showing to us of discussions about, his son and his family and what he's looking for in a long-term partner.
Maybe I gave him too much credit, because I really thought when he said to Keely, when he's like, oh yeah, it's something I've been wanting to ask you since like the first day, I thought he was going to go into like, what are your thoughts of me having a 2-year-old? What are your thoughts about like kids or family? And then no, he's like, have you wanted to kiss me? What?
Wait a minute. You really thought he was going to ask her something other
So did
than
I.
that?
Genuinely did. Yeah.
I was getting
wow.
ready. I was like, oh, we're going to get into some more,
When he said, there's something I wanted to ask you, I was like, mate, as soon as he said, since the very first day, I was like, now I know right where this is going.
Oh,
like,
I guess
it was
I had too much faith in
No,
him,
you can't
apparently.
him. No.
Do we have favorite farmers this week?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jay.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't jump right in there.
No,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, I just don't like, I mean, I like Colton's authenticity, but, not really, can't really root for him. But Jay's like, I feel like Jay is like, he's wrestling internally every second, which I find
That is true.
a likable trait. And I can't tell if it's just too many concussions from the football or if it's, but he's like, even when he sat down with the two of them and he was like, they had the little pre-interview or whatever. And he's like, I don't know what's wrong with me today. I can't even talk.
So funny.
Like, he's just, that could have been 2 weeks after the fact and just they found a snippet of him saying that. But that poor guy, he's feeling it.
Okay.
I'm still on Team J. I like the fact that he does seem to really be wrestling with it. And when he was talking to Julia and she was like, I think she said, are you thinking that I can't last here? And he's like, honestly, yeah, I'm kind of worrying that you might think it's fun a little bit and you'll try a little while. And then when it gets real, you're out of here.
Yeah.
And I feel like I really enjoyed his friends.
Yes. Oh my gosh. His friend, is his name Poppy?
Yeah.
That guy he made me laugh. I feel like the second Julia said she was from Malibu, the look he gave her, I was like, oh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I feel like, can we just hang out with Poppy? Can he come back, please?
Yeah.
Farmer's friend wants a wife. After party.
Yeah.
Yep.
Poppy, if you want to come on the show, I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you have a favorite, Candace?
Yeah, I'm also on Team J. And like Lindsay was saying, like he seems to be the one who's actually trying to have engaging conversations with the women on his farm and he's trying to like figure it out. And yeah, it does make him look like he's confused or conflicted at times. But I think he's taking the process seriously and it's not just an opportunity to make out with a bunch of women like some farmers we could mention.
Yeah, I think I'm also sticking with Jay. I feel like he is like awkward in the most adorable way.
Endearing.
Where he's just like, like awkwardly pouring lemonade and then he had to cough and he's just like, it was so awkward, but he's just kind of adorable about it. And I think he's taking things seriously. I second, third, fourth, all of that.
So my only red flag with him is why is Julia still around?
Yes.
Like it's like we want to like him for all of those qualities that we all just listed. But then there's the one thing, it's like the photo that she gave him, is still in the back of his mind, and that's why he won't get rid of her. And I'm like,
I don't disagree, because at one point, I think it was like during a producer interview or something this week, he said something along the lines of like, Julia's really attractive.
Yeah.
Well, she is.
Which she absolutely is. But then I don't think he then went into saying about how, I don't know if she's going to fit here, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, so does she have qualities other than her looks? Which, yeah, she's gorgeous. She's a model. Of course she's gorgeous. But is there more to her that he sees? Or is he just like, she's a hottie?
I wonder if he's just too nice to cut someone.
Yeah, could be.
It's
that's
more
fair.
like if he sees that he's got an out, like with the last letter, where it's like, you could or you don't have to. If he's just like, oh, well, I don't want to make anyone feel bad.
But week 11 is going to be rough when he has to get rid of
It might be one of those things where he has to be pushed to get someone off his farm.
Maybe. All right. Real quick, before we wrap up, I feel like we have to just give quick predictions based on the little preview from next week. Do we think that we are going to have a Farmer Wants a Wife first, do we think that Haley and Matt like spent the night together?
I know that we said that we wanted more spice this season. It would be a Farmer Wants a Wife first to insinuate that something like that happened. I don't know if I'm willing to believe the editing on this. We don't know where along the timeline that is happening. It could have been that Haley just left in the middle of the night.
Ooh.
I don't know. I don't think that it is what we think it is right now.
Okay.
Also, I predict that it was not Haley and Matt being together. I think there's another explanation for why she was not in the house that night. Either way, it will be dramatic to see what it actually was.
Okay.
No, I don't think. I agree with everybody else. No.
Yeah.
This episode left me like that little 30-second preview was like felt like more was happening than happened at this week at all. Like this felt like a very, like I said earlier, it just felt very disjointed. It felt like I was watching a rough cut. It felt like there was no flow to the episode. It was just, oh, it's over. Oh, okay, well.
That's fair.
So I didn't love it.
All
What
right.
about you, Steph? Do you think?
I'm going to say no. And even though I feel like I am still waiting to learn more about Matt's personality, the little bits of him that we have learned about, I just don't see him like actively spending the night with one of these women while the other four are in the house. I just,
Yeah.
that would be a real shady move. And from what we've seen of him, I don't think he would do that. So,
Yeah,
All
he
right.
doesn't. He seems very in control of himself.
yeah, unlike some people.
Who?
Oh gosh,
Wait,
Haley.
who?
Shocker. The absolute plot twist of the season is Haley was at Colton.
Oh my god! if it happens after the hoedown or wherever they're going,
Oh my god.
Oh, maybe
is
that
no
what it
woman
is.
safe?
I heard what's happening on that other farm. I'm going over there.
Oh man. Colton, if you do ever listen to this, I'm sorry. All right. On that note, I think we're gonna wrap her up. Thank you guys all for listening, for partying with us at the Farmer Wants a Wife after party. If you like this episode, consider subscribing. If you really like this episode, please maybe give us a nice review. You can share all of your thoughts with us, whether you agree with us, you don't agree with us, you have a hot take, anything. Please feel free to email us. The email is afterparty@lancasterfarming.com. You can follow us on social media. We're at Lancaster Farming on most platforms, and we do post some Farmer Wants a Wife content there. If you want more talk about Farmer Wants a Wife, head over to our website at lancasterfarming.com. We do weekly written commentary there. And yeah, really, thank you for listening. We will absolutely be partying with you next week. And maybe, again, we'll bring Travis back for, third, fourth, fifth, sixth times. Who knows? I'm Stephanie.
I'm Candace.
I'm Lindsay.
I'm obviously Travis.
All right, we will party with you next week.
Bye.
This episode is brought to you by Towncraft Chefsware, made in the USA. With a lifetime warranty, stainless steel with oven-proof handles up to 450 degrees. With a magnetic bottom designed for any stove, why trust your favorite recipes to anything but the best? Start cooking today. Call Bob Lebda at 570-850-9041 or via email at w.lebda@yahoo.com.
This episode of the Farmer Wants a Wife After Party is copyright 2025 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family. It was written by Stephanie Spiker and produced by Eric Herlock and Sophia Curzius. The music you've heard is courtesy of Tin Bird Shadow.